How do you feel about the Tupac situation?
Well, actually, the Tupac situation, happened right here, and it's a great place to really talk about it. As you can see, this is the memorial for Tupac, over 1 million signatures. But you also got to keep in mind, this is actually where it happened. Right here, right there is where Tupac's car was, and right here, where we're standing, a few feet away, is actually where the white car pulled up. Now, they were having a great time. You got to keep in mind, Mike Tyson fight. They're celebrating a partner's birthday. It's a great night. Nothing was happening but a good time. And when they pulled up here, some girls were yelling at him. Very famous guy. Some girls were yelling at him. So when the girls yelled, Tupac himself, popped out the window. And that's part when that last picture was taken that everybody knows. When Tupac popped out the window, hollering at the girls, "Hey, what's up, whoop-de-whoop?" The white car pulled up right here. And I popped him, and pulled out the blicky and the stick, and they went at him. Then took a right over here and fled. You got to keep in mind the great detail, the awesome great detail that this has taken away from us, what this has taken away from the world. Tupac was such a character that he touched both spectrum. Not a lot of musicians or rappers or whoever can touch both spectrum, which is songs like Dear Mama that touched everyone. Everyone's got them, touched everyone. And the other spectrum of the stuff where he talked about, that's being missed till today. There has never been an artist quite like him, and it's so surreal that it happened in an action-packed city. Las Vegas is an action-packed city, and this is all where it went down. You got to keep in mind also Cabal and Flamingo is a very famous street. As you can see, the Flamingo Hotel is right there, and also it's rumored, you can find the information that Floyd Mayweather himself said that he saw. We don't know exactly how much he saw something, a part of what went down, and we have come to realize that he lived right here. He had a condo right here at the Platinum Hotel, right up here overlooking this whole thing. Yeah, and it's amazing how there's nobody that really, the people really saw the whole thing. They're scared to come through. As you can see, there's all kinds of activity. There's people walking by. It was even more packed that night. You got to keep in mind, it was fight night. Fight night for none other than Mike Tyson, the world famous. This was part when Mike Tyson was at his peak. So the whole world came out to see. All the locals, everybody flew in. So this was more packed than this. There's 2 gas stations right here. There's people getting gas. There's all kinds of traffic. Then come time to say what happened and who saw what. Proof. Nobody saw what. A lot of people saw it. That's the actual what took place. A lot of people saw it. They're afraid to come out. Till today, there's people who know things that have not came out. And now that Keefe has been arrested, in that car that was right here, Keefe was in the passenger side. He was not driving, was in the passenger side, and he's the one that actually got the gun from Zip. Zip is supposedly, allegedly, Zip is Puff Daddy's, between guy that he went through to give him the money, the $1 million to kill Tupac. Zip is the one that actually the money was given to. So Zip is the one that actually also bought the gun that he gave to Keefe on that fateful night, September 7, 1996, right at this very moment. Right at this very spot is where Keefe, when they pulled up right here, Keefe had the gun in the front passenger seat, and he handed it over to the back. Who's in the back?
Octoon.
He got all kind of foreigners. I have no idea what that is, but he had
Octopus.
So what happened? So Keefe right at this very spot, right here, handed the gun over to the back where Orlando was, Orlando was in the back. And Keefe himself, part of the reason he's all hemmed up right now, he said himself he handed him the gun. He said he would have been the one to shoot Tupac. The only reason he didn't actually do it, this is what he's saying, is because he wasn't in the back on the right side. Because Tupac's car was over there on the left side. Tupac was on the left, and he wasn't on the left side of the car. So he handed the gun to Orlando Anderson, and when Orlando got the gun, supposedly, allegedly, Orlando's the one that did the shooting. And you see, people come and honk. That's what Tupac, they come and honk for Tupac. They come and sign this. There's a lot to the story that you guys don't know, and we are the only one that's actually live where it happened. You hear other people talking about it. We're actually standing where the man took his last breath. The cop pulled him out of the car. He's asking him what happened, who shot you, and you know what he said? Out of all that, he mustered one of Tupac's last words was, you know, F you. He didn't want to snitch. He didn't want to say who did what to it. All he wanted, so he didn't have nothing to do with the cops. But you also got to realize, Keefe D, now that he's busted, why he's busted, you guys got to realize there's a difference between immunity, having immunity, and proffer. And he had the proffer agreement. And in the proffer agreement, that means when they record you telling them, hey, you tell us everything you've done, and if it's true, we'll use it to indict other people. We won't use it to indict you. So they gave him the proffer deal, and that's where he told the story of exactly what happened that fateful night, right at this moment, that he was in the car, he was involved. So therefore, after he said it, where he went wrong is, he's thinking he has immunity, and he went on Vlad TV and told the same story, different aspect of the story. Well, what happens now, that proffer agreement is null and void. The new recording of Vlad TV now can be used in court. Then he went on the Art of Dialogue and a whole bunch of other people saying the same thing. Those recordings can be used. They cannot use the proffer agreement, the one he recorded. That's where he went wrong. He thought it was all hunky-dory. Oh, I'm free, I can say anything. Everybody remember, no statute of limitation on murder. Don't go around murdering people. It's not going to work. They're not going to leave you alone. You could be 95, they will still come and get you. And I'm telling y'all right now, it was a great loss, and I'm so glad after almost 30 years that is coming to fruition, that we are finding out more details, what went on and what goes on. And you got to keep in mind the old big slap, the Chris Rock and Will Smith slap. The woman that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock for was part of Tupac's whole clique. And you know, she was right there in the hotel waiting for him. She was here on fight night as well, and she is very distraught. And a powerful woman like that, you can imagine that she's worth being with Tupac, because this is the same woman that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, that slap heard around the world. That all has to do with this whole thing, and nobody else is bringing it to you like we are. We are right here where it actually happened. This is exactly the corner that it happened. So when you want the exact details of what's going on and how it happened, exactly as it's released, come right here, subscribe, because this is where it happened. That's why I subscribe to these guys. When I'm walking by, coming home from work, I walk these streets every day. I think about Tupac every day when I go by. I'm like, wow, this is where he took his last breath. When I listen to a song, it's like, you know, you gotta understand, for some fans, it's quite traumatic, because we're never gonna get any more from that man. He didn't have kids, so I gotta tell y'all, say what?
What about Pdiddy?
What? Oh my goodness. You're getting into a whole nother bag of worms when you're talking about Pdiddy, because Pdiddy was supposedly the one through Zip that gave $1 million to Zip, because I wanted to get Tupac hit. You got to remember, at that time, a lot of people are young, a lot of people are old. Some people are old enough, they knew Tupac, but they weren't a big fan. Some kids are not old enough to be around with Tupac. You got to, at that time, it was very heated, because Tupac just released a few months earlier. Tupac just released, within the year, released Hit 'Em Up. Hit 'Em Up was such a song that it talked about, oh my goodness, it spoke about, you know, him sleeping with Biggie's wife, you know, him, you know, riding on the whole Bad Boy, him riding on the whole West Coast, and, you know, East Coast, I mean. And the tragic thing is, Tupac himself was born on the East Coast, and, you know, since he's standing on the West Coast, driving against it just doesn't make sense. And you gotta remember that the people that push this a lot, it's not like it was today. There was no internet, there was no IG, there was no Twitter, so it wasn't, information didn't travel quick. But beyond all that, P. Diddy supposedly, allegedly, is the one that paid the $1 million. Here's the really funny thing is that Keefe D's crew and them weren't even expecting $1 million. They were gonna do it for much less. It was Puff Daddy, it was P. Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs himself that offered and said, I'm gonna pay y'all $1 million to do it. They were like, oh, $1 million, word? Okay, we're really gonna do it. So then that night, It so happens that through a chain snatching incident where Orlando had snatched one of Death Row's artists' chain, they saw him that night. They got into a fight with him.
Yeah.
So you know, when they got into the fight and everything, it was double whammy because now they wanted to get him back for the beating of Orlando, and they getting paid $1 million to do all this. So there's a lot of information, and you know, now that we are at the P. Diddy saga, the Keefe D is arrested. Keefe D, same thing. The same deal that got him the first time. Hey, you're gonna spend the rest of your life in jail. Is the same deal now. He's an older man, so he's talking. He's squealing, and Puff is one of the first names he's called. He said Puff is involved. He said Puff was the one that gave him the money. They even talked about a secret meeting before when Puff and it was Zip Keefe D and Puff at a coffee shop met up. And this is when the original deal was done. And after Tupac was shot, they said they had a phone call that possibly was recorded that Puff called Keefe D and asked him, was that us? And Keefe D said, yes, that was us. Because Puff didn't know if Pac just got shot by somebody else or was that actually the $1 million hit. So he said, was that us? And Keefe D replied, yes, that's us. This is all what Keefe D is talking about. This is why Puff Daddy is not in a good place. He lawyered up, and we're gonna see how the saga unfolds. But the most important thing is when you want the real. I don't see anybody else standing at the very spot right here. Tupac Memorial right here at the very spot it all went down. Everybody else could tell. We got the inside scoop. So definitely.
About the memorial, should it be bigger?
Yeah. Oh, the memorial.
Do you think the memorial should be bigger?
You know, listen. This pole is great, and it's been here for almost 30 years. And you know, it's been signed, but it could be easily painted. You know, the thing about it, for someone as great as Tupac, someone on both spectrums, someone like we've never had before since, and won't quite have like someone like in the Bob Marley, in legends that will live 100, 300 years from now. We got to do better than this. We got to give this man a proper memorial, even if it's something with a plaque, like a podium that goes around to where people the love is real. The love continues. Every single day, people fly all over the world to just come and touch this, to just come and sign it, and you know, post their posters on it. We definitely need something better for such a great man.